All right. So in all fairness, and we're doing an experiment, just so you know, I tend to be a little nicer when I'm drinking wine.
Okay.
So this is the second time. So I'm thinking I'm going to be a lot nicer. I think.
To your guest or in general?
Just in general. In general. No, guests
He's a little bitter
fine.
sometimes, but the last episode we know the key is wine. You give him some wine, he's all like happy and jolly.
How's it going? Last time was a little extreme.
You and Kevin get sauce. That's why.
Yeah. Welcome to hell.
Hello and welcome to the Jersey Shore Musicians Podcast. I'm Matt. That's Jeff.
Hello.
And tonight we have Monique Demopoulos from the Sandpaper.
Oh,
hello, hello.
Golf clap.
Golf clap.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Monique writes for the Sandpaper. She does a music column.
Okay.
Why don't you talk a little bit about what you do for music?
Okay. Wow. My column is called Sound Waves. I think I launched it in 2021, probably around the time you guys first launched this podcast, actually. Okay. It's kind of crazy to me that the Sandpaper never had a music column before. They have an art column, a surf column, a fishing column. And I came on to the Sandpaper in 2018 or 2019, freelance, and as like a music reviewer for, freelance in the summer. And I kind of stuck and stayed. And then obviously, as we all know, the pandemic happened. And that's actually a pretty long but cool story if you're interested.
I can go for a story.
So
Stories are good.
Prior to working at the Sandpaper, I was a fine art model for like 16 years. And colleague of mine, actually the art editor now at the Sandpaper, I was home because I traveled all over the world, and I was home and I was posing, and she is an artist, so she came to a drawing session in Manahawkin, and everyone's asking me questions about where I just was, and I can't remember where I was. I think I was probably like in the desert somewhere like Utah. And she was like, wait, so you live out of your truck and you're traveling all over the world. I need to write this story. So we become friends. She writes this story. And I went to school for philosophy and linguistics. I've always been a writer. I'm also a songwriter. And I am obsessed with music, any music. So anyway, fast forward to I was ready to just be done with modeling. It's just a very toxic industry. And so I was about to leave for a tour, and I decided, you know what? I was supposed to go all around the country and end in Oregon. And I said, you know what? I ran a photo retreat in Utah at the time called the Desert Adventure. It was pretty awesome. And I decided after that retreat, I'm done. I canceled all of my shoots on the West Coast. And I said, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. And that day, she called me and offered me a full-time position. So anyway, then I became a staff writer. So I also report the news. Not the most fun part of my job, but it's a necessary job.
True.
So
there's always a part of the job you don't like.
Exactly. Yeah. And hey, I'm happy to do it, So, but couple summers in, and especially after just that first year of living in the pandemic, I was writing a lot of stories about how musicians were like pushing through and bringing people together. A lot of people were live streaming. It's actually how I met my boyfriend, Ty. And I felt like we were missing a music column. And I was like, what if I start this thing? I call it Sound Waves, and it'll encompass everything, local music, worldwide music, music history. So not just like your basic opinion piece, and not just basic music features. It can be really anything. And that's what I love about it. And the cool thing is that I have a lot of creative control over it, which is nice. So.
All right. It's a pretty good story. You were right.
It's a weird one, but.
It is. It's like I'm like processing it and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You are well traveled, yes.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah. And we have a quirky bunch at the Sandpaper.
Okay.
We have a lot. We have a cool staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, like, what you do for, like, bands or is it like just bands or venues or, like, is this like once a month thing or is it a?
So in the off season, it's every other week.
Okay. Well, we're coming off to that. Now we should be.
Yeah. So
right
next
in.
week is when section 2 starts, and section 2 is our art and entertainment section,
Okay.
which we can't have that all year because half of the island is empty.
True. True.
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
Our paper doubles in size in the summertime. We have a lot more advertising and thus a lot more, there's a lot more events, a lot more paper to fill. So, so in the summer it's weekly. And so sometimes it's a music feature. Sometimes I'm talking to someone, a musician about a very specific topic. Sometimes, like when I first started, I was doing a lot of like history of, like this day in history. I was doing a lot of that. That was fun. So it's not just specific to venues. And of course we try to be fair to all of our venues on the island and on the mainland as well. And try not to like over or undercover anything. Mm-hmm. But I do have a lot of freedom as to, I was just saying, I just published a strongly worded critique of Taylor Swift's new record.
Oh.
And I was, if I go missing next week, that's what happens.
Okay.
So.
They came for
Well, she does have the money to do that. So.
Yeah. Just the fan base. She doesn't even need the money.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
And them Swifties be crazy.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I have to give it to her. Her marketing is insane.
Yeah.
Like you got to respect the hustle. But
I mean, she is the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's none bigger than her.
And
right now.
honestly, I can't even hate on a Taylor Swift, and because I was a kid and I listened to Britney Spears, so
Yeah, there's
everybody has their cringy, like, the secret CD in the bottom of the car.
It's funny how a podcast about music hosted by two old rock and roll guys, Britney Spears comes up on here a lot.
It's Britney, bitch.
I mean, yeah. Growing
There's been episodes
but,
where we have Britney Spears on the TV just playing in the background.
Hell yeah.
That was just fun. That was just to have fun. I mean, she was hot. So, I mean, yeah. Growing up in my 20s and that came out, and you're just like, okay. I could get behind that. I could get behind that. So, all right. So, do you have, like, I'm assuming there's deadlines. I'm going by like reporters that we see on like TV and stuff. So like there's deadlines. There's been stuff where you're like up all night writing and just like it seems like there's a lot of research.
Yeah, there is. And it just depends on what I'm covering that week.
Okay.
And it also depends on how much I'm covering.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Summertime is obviously a lot harder because
Well, the column's a lot bigger, yeah.
the column is bigger. Also, the paper is bigger. So that's not the only assignment I'm doing. I'm also writing like 4 or 5 other stories a lot of times.
Okay.
So, and it's a weekly paper. So trying to balance all of that in between having like any kind of a life can be a lot. I mean, the cool thing is that part of my job involves like going out and seeing music and being part of the scene.
Okay.
So it's kind of, there's a little bit of a blurred line between my social life and my work life, which is cool because I enjoy seeing music and I enjoy a lot of them are my friends. So,
They are when they're like, oh, you're writing about us? Yeah, we're friends.
Right, exactly. I had a lot of friends in the music scene prior, and now, of course, I have a lot more.
Yeah,
but
it's just
for sure.
It's
But
just
yeah,
like, oh yeah, you're my friend.
Wow, yeah, of course. Yeah, you don't want to be mean to the person like writing the music features.
Writing this strongly worded article about you.
Yes.
Well, you know what? In general, I try to be positive. I'm not normally the person that's like doing negative reviews of anything.
a couple weeks from now, we're going to see like Jersey Shore Musicians Podcast. Fuck those guys.
Here's your strongly worded review.
These goddamn blushes and their red wine.
Yeah.
But hey,
Hey,
I respect that.
Yeah, whatever makes the world go round.
But yeah, there are definitely weeks where I'm up all night.
See, I can't. Like, that just seems like a lot of work.
The thing is I've gotten a lot better with time management and boundaries. When I first started, of course, there's like this need. You want to
Like,
do a
prove
great
yourself.
job. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want to exceed people's expectations
nitpick
of you.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you get like really great praise, then you always want to be, for me, I'm like a junkie for that. I'm like,
Yeah, you're striving to get that again and
better.
again.
Yeah, exactly. But now, I've been doing this for a few years and I don't have that same like need to, I know I'm a good writer. I
Don't worry. You'll get your fucking paper. Relax. I will have it on time.
Yeah.
I can see her in a bad mood, and the editor in chief, whatever. Because like I said, I've seen them on TV. You'll get your paper. Don't worry. Midnight tonight.
And the thing is, I'm involved in a lot of different aspects of, I also am an editor and I also help print the paper. So I see all the effort that goes into how the paper being made. And
I definitely want to
it.
ask you, like, what's that like, seeing it being like laid out and then printed and I guess shuffled through or whatnot,
It's
or however
awesome.
it works.
Yeah, it's it definitely has made me a better writer, and I definitely have a much stronger respect for deadlines.
Okay.
Because being in the production room and when stuff comes in late, it's hard because you have to tear the whole paper apart. If you know what I mean, like
shit.
it's crazy. And I have a lot more respect for, the people in the production room.
And they got tight deadlines. If they get it on a day and like in 24 hours, you got to have like thousands and thousands of these printed up.
And in the summertime, I mean, they're there, and it's not like it was, 20, 30 years ago. And the sandpaper's been there for longer than I've been alive, which is amazing.
Well, technology probably helps out a lot these days.
Well, I was going to ask
That's
that.
what
It's
I'm
like,
saying,
what's
like-
the difference between like your online presence, and I'm just saying that as a paper, versus now, is it like something that's in like Wawa's and stuff like that, or is this like something that like people either sign up and it gets thrown on their doorstep type thing?
So it's
Which they probably don't do that anymore either.
well, so we have we're in boxes everywhere.
Okay.
You can come get the paper from the sandpaper as well.
Okay.
But also, we have different like little beat areas. So we cover obviously the whole island, and then we cover from I would say Waretown to like New Gretna. That's and from LBI to like Warren Grove. And we have miniature papers that are all of the stories that apply to just one coverage area, because we cover such a big area. So like I'm the editor for the Tuckerton Leader because I live down in Little Lake Harbor. So and I also cover Tuckerton, Little Lake Harbor news and business stories and that kind of thing. So basically, so Tuesday, this week, we printed the regular weekly paper. And then Wednesday, we printed all the stuff that goes just to Tuckerton and Little Lake Harbor. But that's a monthly thing.
Oh, okay.
So
'Cause I was like, that's a lot of freaking work.
yeah, that's but for production, they have to do that for all the coverage area. So that really every Wednesday, give or take,
Yeah, this section, that section,
is a production
that section.
day for them, and I only have to come in for mine and
okay.
and for the Tuesday one.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that's to say, I respect the shit out of my coworkers in production, because without them, there's no paper. And if you're working, especially since the pandemic, a lot of people work from home, and people are working remotely, which is amazing that we can even do that. But you kind of forget how important the people who are physically building your paper, they are so important. So
Yeah,
I don't even remember what the original question was, but I hope I answered it.
Yeah, something around those lines.
Yeah.
Oh, but like I was gonna say, like, what did online do for you guys versus like the real paper? Like something tangible versus something you just search. Like, what's the online presence like? Is there a lot more people now clicking on a link and looking at the paper versus
Definitely
the physical copy in their hand?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of subscribers because, so basically you can see the newspaper for, I think, up to 6 weeks after something's been published, and then you can't see something unless you subscribe.
Okay.
But we actually have a lot of dedicated subscribers because we have a lot of people who, live up north or live in Florida or wherever they come from, and they want to see it when they're not here, which is so cool to me. I got a thank you card from this woman who, and it wasn't even me. Wasn't me. She is a second homeowner in Tuckerton or Little Lake Harbor, and she had been trying to get the sandpaper or the leader, one of those, mailed to her in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And somebody set it up for her so she can get the physical paper. And she sent me a physical card to say thank me. I'm like, I'm not even the person who made that happen, but
I'll take credit for it.
I'm the person who writes a lot of the stories, I guess. So she just was thanking me because maybe she likes the stories, but that means so much.
I could see that.
That people, first of all, that people even read the newspaper still.
True.
You know what I mean? Because why would you when you're scrolling social media and you're getting whatever?
Well, people's attention spans are so short these days. Anyway.
Yeah. And people want the bullshit that the algorithm has, spoon-fed to them anyway. So,
I mean, I could tell you from working on the island, when I go to Wawa, everybody on their way out of Wawa grabs the sandpaper on their way out, everybody.
Yeah. When I first started working there, I remember, seeing people, I would walk past, everyone on the beach or at the local or wherever, and people are reading their paper and I wrote that. I wrote that. But, it's just the regular neighborhood thing now, but it's really cool. You wouldn't believe how many people, especially our entertainment section in the summertime, people rely on that. If they don't, they will call. If
Really?
they can't find it, or if something was wrong one week or something, people will call and say, I can't find the entertainment grid and I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm like, that's amazing.
That is actually really, that's old school though. That's what we had. I mean, even back then when the computer wasn't that much, it was
remember when you had to read the TV guide to find out what was on TV?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. I remember my mom doing that all the time.
But I will also say, for sound waves specifically, I'm a big fan of the SEO feature on our site. So I'll do a lot of, especially when I'm covering small bands that if I'm covering them and I'm also covering a bigger artist that is known nationally or internationally, I'll just put all those tags in there just in hopes that it reaches more viewers. Yeah. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback that way. So there's an artist out of Waretown. His name's Brad Wilson. He's a singer-songwriter, really, really awesome. I love his songwriting. Influenced by Tool, but you would never know it because it's a lot of Van Morrison type singer-songwriter type stuff. Okay. But he described his music as painting and sound, and I was like, that's amazing. Cool. That makes a lot of sense.
That's essentially what music is. It's painting you a picture with noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I covered him and I hashtagged his name, to kind of get him out into the
world
void that is
the
internet. And this lady contacts me and she's an agent for another Brad Wilson who is a famous
take that
something
down.
or other. No, she was actually there are just so many Brad Wilsons out there doing amazing things, and I feel like somebody needs to write a story about all the people named Brad Wilson doing cool stuff. Another cool thing that happened was I wrote a very lengthy feature about Les Paul. Okay. And the Les Paul Foundation sent me a letter thanking me with official letterhead and everything.
That's really cool.
Because of the SEO, they saw it. And so those are little rewarding things that the internet can do.
I know on Instagram we get Indian guys all the time trying to fix our SEO.
Oh goodness.
They're pay me money, I fix your SEO.
Yeah. Oh, I could probably help you a little bit with that.
There you go.
Making connections.
It's not as hard as of course, to have it super professionally done, it's going to cost at least like $1,200 for a year of just like getting it super optimized. But if you already have a good setup and a good site, it's not that hard to do. So it's our website. A lot of the stuff we use is archaic in a lot of ways, but I will say that our SEO feature it works. It doesn't take rocket science at all. You just type the words in, and use them throughout the story.
Type the words in.
Archaic. That's the way we work.
We
fly by the seat of our pants when it comes to everything.
And when you're typing in your words as well, make sure that you've thought of, are these words that people are going to be typing in?
Oh.
Because I think a lot of times when we're describing the work that we're doing, we get real flowery because we think of ourselves as being, doing something so different. But the fact of the matter is, what are people typing into the internet to find something like what you're doing?
Yeah.
Those are the words you're going to want to use.
Never thought about it that way. Like I know when I do like little videos, I'll come up with these like little witty titles for the videos, and it does shitty. And then I cut something, I'll just put something super simple and stupid, and it gets like 1,000 views, and we're like, oh,
exactly.
So you're the problem.
Exactly.
It's still so hit or miss.
People don't like to burn calories trying to comprehend things. I think because there's so much bullshit in all media now. People's, and all of us have shortened attention spans now, but if it's not getting right to the point and telling me that it's something I need, on to the next. That's just unfortunately how things are.
Oh yeah, so I watched. There's certain things where
here's something I don't need. On to the next, buddy.
But like you like when you make a video, like especially when you're doing like shorts, it's got to be like instant talking. Exactly. Like you can't have any kind of pause or any like a lead in. It's got to be like bang right into it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because you have about 1.5 seconds before they next.
I'm just wired differently.
What?
I'm wired differently because I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I'm like thinking of it, and I'm like, oh, that's like I'm tracking like an acoustic guitar. I want to make sure each string is the same volume.
Well, they even get into like it should be immediate talking on a short video, and the camera should also have a sudden jerking movement right off the bat to be like bang, and then you start talking. Yeah,
there's your sudden.
I mean, there's a whole lot of different factors to it.
Yeah,
you got about 1.5 seconds.
I don't envy your job. I don't.
Especially with like reels too. You want the reel to be in portrait mode. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, it's all everything's vertical content these days.
Everything has to be vertical.
Oh, so when you're holding your phone, it's all normal.
Yeah, I didn't know that for the longest time, and a couple years ago when I first started doing, because I do Ty's social media, most of it, because it's just not his jam,
Yeah,
I gotta understand that.
And I would put all these videos up, and I wanted the whole band in. Because I don't want anybody to be slighted, right? But you cannot. And also, in addition to it being in portrait mode, you also want there to be, it's a solo, or it's something flashy that's going to catch someone. You can't be like in the middle of some weird jam that isn't going to catch people right away. But just changing it so that it's full screen when people are swiping, that was something, because I wasn't like hip to Reels or TikTok like 2 years ago, I would have never known. And then someone said, no, you got to do vertical, and double the amount of people that actually saw it. Yeah,
like we shoot everything in landscape or horizontal, but then I just found apps throughout the years where I can take it and kind of zoom it and crop it down and make it vertical.
Yeah.
Like just zoom in on him, or just take people's faces and do it like overlay too. And
yeah, it's wild how you have to adapt to the ever.
And then now everything has to have captions. If it doesn't have captions, it doesn't do as good.
Yeah,
it's really weird. Like there's a lot of nuances to videos that you would never think about.
Yeah, people need to be spoon.
Because a lot of people end up scrolling with no volume on. So if you have captions on it and they can read the lips and read the words, they don't need to turn the volume on. They're more likely to stay on the video.
That's definitely me.
Yeah, actually, me too.
If I'm in the airport,
I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but when you're just looking at it, you would never think that's why you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. You get more plays when you have captions on your video. It's weird.
Yeah, because you're not giving people an option, right?
Yeah,
they're like, I don't understand what's going on here, and I can't turn my volume up. Bye. But if you're giving them the information, they're like, actually, I have been wondering about this, you know, or whatever it is.
Well, it's still so random, though, because we did an episode with my buddy Jay and Mike from Stomp Out and Poor Man, New Jersey. And, like, I did 3 reels in a matter of a week and a half, and they were any from, like, 8 to, like, 12,000 views each. But our average is, like, 1,000 or so. But it's like those 3 just, like, exploded.
Something about those
and then
guys.
as soon as that week was over, gone. Right back to where we were. And I was like, I didn't even think out of the ones I created, like those were like probably like the lesser reels that I made.
That's your 15 minutes of fame.
I know. I wasn't very famous though.
Did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't.
Hey, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Now, so do you do a lot of, I mean, obviously you do for Ty, but like, has other bands and stuff like been like, oh, like, how did you do this? Like, did you ever think about writing it in the column or, being like,
That's
a therapist to a band, Boys, I've done it. No, sorry,
well, no, I've
definitely
talked about, I focused on in my column the concept of not doing 4-hour gigs, because what I've heard from a lot of musicians is that 4-hour gigs, they usually pay just as much as the 3-hour gigs, and they're so exhausting. And what happens is you see a lot of like newer people doing the 4-hour gigs, and then as they get experience, they're kind of like, I don't need this anymore, because it pays the same as all these other 3-hour gigs, and it's honestly super taxing on my voice. And so I definitely have mentioned things like that in the column, like, I'm noticing a trend of people moving away from this. Maybe, as a society, on LBI and in an entertainment industry, we should just think about the needs of the performers, because without them, these are the people that we're paying to have a good time. So I've definitely done stuff like that. I've done a lot of focus on how to be a good listener or a good fan, how to support local music, in the best ways, and how to go out and see music, especially original music, in the best ways, like etiquette.
We bring that up a lot on here because there's so many things that fans don't do right anymore in the original music scene, where you go out to see your friend's band play and then you leave for the other 4 bands that are going to play. But you could stick around. You already paid to get in the door. Mm-hmm. Stick around. You might find a band that you fall in love with.
Yeah, exactly. That's why whenever Ty does like a shared bill, if it's up to him, he won't announce like who's playing when, for that reason, so that hopefully everyone just stays. He likes to share bills with people that have completely different sounds than him. Yeah,
that's what we do in our shows. We try to make a very mixed bag of styles of music and try to get everybody to stick around to try something new.
Yeah, just sample something new that you might not have thought to listen to before, instead of just skipping out right as soon as
you never know if you're going to like it unless you hear it.
Exactly. But I do think it's a good idea. I just never want to come off as like preachy or I don't know, kind of like an authority on
Sometimes
music.
You just got to teach these motherfuckers.
Because I'm not a musician. I mean, I'm learning guitar because I live with a guitarist. There's a guitar in every wall of my house, and I no longer have an excuse but to learn.
Oh, there you go.
I write music, I sing, but I don't perform professionally. I was a performer as a model and an actor, but that was it's not the same. Yeah. And so I never want to be like, let me tell you how to tune your instrument, because actually Ty was showing me how to change strings on an acoustic guitar, and I was like, this is a great column for, this would be cool to, I don't know,
like a little instructional.
Yeah, and he just laughed at me, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll put that on the shelf for a minute. But I do, especially with the social media stuff, anytime I'm interviewing people, especially if it's younger people or people new to the music scene, I will for sure share any knowledge that I have, just by virtue of like doing this with Ty. And
it's also just something you're truly passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, of course. And as a music enthusiast, I want to see them thrive. So yeah, I'm always sharing any kind of social media tips. I also recently started a freelance career. Sorry. as a copywriter, because I was getting a lot of people asking me to write their websites for them. I've written ties. I basically built ties, actually. I built Cosmic Jerry bands. Obviously, I've built a lot of websites for my own businesses prior to the Sandpaper. So it's something that I know how to do. And obviously, I've only cultivated those skills further by working in the Sandpaper because I work with these amazing people in production. So now anytime anyone asks, I'm like, I can actually do that. And now I know what I can charge reasonably. You know what I'm saying? Social media, I do that for people if they need it, or I'll just give them advice for free. Another big thing that I'm always advising is to either, well, there are multiple things to this, but first, have someone edit your emails, because a lot of musicians aren't writers, you know, and if you're doing email correspondence, have someone do it for you. Or if you don't have somebody who can, or you can't afford to pay someone to do it, have someone like help you with a template, and I can offer that as well. And sign off as a different name, because a lot of times musicians get offers from, you know, people who want them to play their wedding or play some random, you know, some huge show, right? And I'm talking about people with lots and lots of money, but they think they're talking to like a kid who's never done this before, and they're like, oh, hey, buddy, you know, like, you do this for a couple beers and a hot dog, you know what I mean? And it's like,
yes,
these people won't haggle with management.
True.
If they think,
I can see that.
Yeah, like if they think they're talking, then their tune changes immediately, because they're like, oh, this person is represented and he's a professional. It's so ridiculous that we have to do this, but do it.
Yeah, why not?
You know, or just, if you're going to sign off as your own name, just be firm on your rates. People will generally, you know, you can be nice in giving them the performance you know they deserve. And you can be a nice person without being a doormat for people. And usually, in most cases, if you just put your terms out on the table, people won't argue with you. They'll only argue with you if they think they can.
Especially if you're competent in it and like say, this is what it is.
Exactly. And a lot of people who are new and they don't know what to charge, or they don't want to like put people off, and so they're really nice. Well, what were you thinking? It's like, don't ever put the ball in their court.
They're gonna lowball you every time. Yeah,
exactly. So I help with that, and I also help with the big thing I help with is building press kits. I do that for a fee, or I'll just give advice on.
Sounds to me like you should just get into management.
Yeah, I know. Ty has said this to me. It's a lot.
I mean, you pretty much have every base covered in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, I think that's so necessary in this area is because it is so needed, and not everybody can afford to do that, especially, you know, if they're just like doing bar gigs, or, I mean, some people can, or some people don't have the freedom to invest in that way.
Well, especially in original music too. There's so much less money in original music.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I don't want to, I don't know, a lot of times if people are paying me to do their email correspondence, my big thing for them is like, I'm doing this for a flat rate, but like, I don't want any kind of, you're not like signed to me, I'm not booking you places, like, that's not what I'm trying to do, because I feel like there's also a lot of management companies that take advantage of artists in that way.
No.
Well, you know, especially around here, it just seems so sleazy.
No, it's
not that it's not sleazy everywhere, but to do it on such a small scale is like, it's so gross.
Well, I mean, most bands are getting, if they have management, they're getting hosed by them, then they're getting hosed by the promoter, taking all their money. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're just getting the short end of the stick from everybody.
Yeah, and so I don't ever want to be in that position, you know, like, I'm always happy to just give advice. especially with press kits, because as a music journalist, I get press kits all the time. And I see so many bad ones, even with internationally touring bands. And so as someone who's like kind of fielding through and selecting, you know, seeing what catches my eye and what doesn't.
Well, you get a feel for what works, what doesn't work.
I know, yeah, exactly. Like I can see what needs to be included and what doesn't need to be included at all. You know, there's so many people who they're like, this guy has shared the stage with
blah 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 blah,
and it's like every member of every famous band ever, but like
never in the band that they're famous for.
Yeah, and it's like that's really cool. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to say, yeah, it's
I played in the same place as Billy Idol 3 days later.
Exactly.
I played in the same place as fucking Bruce Springsteen. Yay.
Right. Yeah, I was at the same festival that Bruce Springsteen was at. Well, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like that guy will get on stage with anybody. So, but the point is, you know, it should celebrate you, and music marketing is no different from any other marketing. And I know that it's hard as artists, like we don't really want to market ourselves.
Yes.
It's hard.
That's
But
what I always said, like younger bands are just like, all right, well, you're an artist in the studio. Here's your CD. You're no longer an artist. Now you're in business.
exactly.
You know, that's that.
And it's a trade-off, but the thing is, hey, if people are listening to the thing you made, then you won. You won the game.
Yeah.
So if your goal is just to make music and you don't care who hears it, then that's also amazing and you don't need to market it. But if your goal is to share it, and a lot of people's goal is to share it, then there's nothing wrong with marketing, and you should market yourself tastefully. So that's
like I totally agree with your whole thing about getting someone to read your emails, because like just in the past like 2 weeks I've gotten some gems. Like these people are like, you know, I tell everybody just email we have a Gmail and just send me an email with some links, and you know, I'll check you out, and if we want to bring you on, I'll respond back. We want you on. I got one that was, we want on ? John.
No.
That was it. We want on ? John.
And it's almost like, is this a real person or is this
Yeah, you fucking with
weird
me.
spam? Yeah.
And then another band got in touch with me on Instagram, I think it was, and they said, how do we get on the podcast? And I said, send me an email at jsnpinfo@gmail.com. And they get the email and it says, what's your weekly viewer average? And I'm like, that is one way to fucking not get on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
But here's the
that
thing.
shouldn't be your first question right off the bat.
What's your response? Like, how many followers do you have?
Oh no, my response was
the
delete.
Whole thing. That's the whole thing, though. In a music business now, let's not even be artists or whatever. In the business,
Yeah.
it's what can you do for me today?
Right.
And it sucks. It sucks for everybody. You know, like even the cover bands. If you took a great cover band from New Jersey and you put them in Nashville or New Orleans, they'll die. Mm-hmm. Especially Nashville. Like they are the top rate guys that go play a gig and have a bucket in front of them. There's no pay.
Yeah,
There's no pay. So it's like sometimes I talk to them, you know, cover bands. I'm just like, man, that's cool. Like, lap it up now, man, because you know it's going to change.
I took Ty to New Orleans a couple years ago.
I love that place.
Oh my God, it's my favorite city in America. And he had never been. And I told him to bring his electric guitar, but he would not. So, but I did encourage him to get up. So, as you know, every club has live music going on, and all of them are 2 drink minimums. And the drink prices down there are like not even a third of what ours are up here. So you can live like a king down there for a week, you know. And I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 6 years. So Ty is getting sauce.
Hammered up.
Yeah.
I got hers.
And so there's like this open jam type situation going on. All these jazz and blues and R&B cats, they're all cream of the crop down there. You know what I mean? And I said, Ty, you should go ask if you can play the guy's guitar. And he's like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to ask somebody to play their guitar. I was like, just do it, because once they hear you play, they're going to be so happy you did. You know, you're not just some drunk guy like getting up and being like, I know Freebird.
He happens to be pretty good at that guitar thing.
Yeah. So he does, and he makes friends with him instantly. And they're like, oh, come here tomorrow. Come, not here. It was a different club place the next night. And you're like, we're going to be here tomorrow night. Please come, get up with us. And they had him up for like an hour.
Oh, wow.
Playing like 2 songs, by the way, because they just jam.
Just ripping, yeah.
And these are musicians. I mean, they're just yelling 1, 3. They're just yelling numbers at each other, and everybody's listening. Everyone is following, and they're just playing for tips. 7-piece band.
Yeah.
And they're making a living.
They're hustling
Tips. And the guy was like, he's one of the kind of bigger advocates for that scene, obviously, down there. And he said to Ty, you know, anytime you come down here, his name's Piano Man G. I feel like I should shout him out. He's awesome. He said to Ty, anytime you're down here, you know, I could get you playing anywhere. And Ty was like, come to New Jersey. I will get you paid. I will get you so paid. You will have no idea what to do with the money you
They
make.
would have no idea what to do with themselves up here, though.
I know.
Because it's so just culturally different.
Oh, yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
But think about, so there's a Soul Project NOLA. Their band leader is weirdly from Beechwood
Really?
and relocated to New Orleans like 25 years ago and started this incredible band. And so they play down there most of the time. And then for 1 or 2 weeks out of the year, they come up here and do a circuit and they kill every
That's
time.
cool.
So it can be done. But
Yeah.
anyway, to your point, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No.
run
That's
off
fine.
with that.
We
This
love
is your show.
tangents.
Yeah, it's your show. You got this.
That's my jam, tangents.
But yeah, I mean that's really what it is. It's just like it's the business. I think the business is killing everything. Just a lot of the soul of the bands or a lot of the artists or whatever. Yes, I agree with marketing. Yes, I agree with having a great product. And then it's how many views, how many this, how many that. Like,
Well, I think, like you said, what's killing it too is just like the fact that there's no money for an original musician anymore.
no, there's not.
You know, between streams, you don't make money on streams.
Yeah.
You know, 1 million streams is going to get you what, like $6,000-$7,000? 1 million streams.
It's such a double-edged sword because the positive to that is that it's kind of the way to adapt to the digital age, in that you're letting yourself be heard. Whereas 30 years ago, it was just busking in the streets or whatever people were doing to kind of get out there and get known. Then we had that weird phase of just everyone trying to get on TV because they're like, dude, that's it. And then everyone's just known as the guy that lost round 3 of whatever the TV show is, you know?
Yeah, he's the star now.
Yeah.
He was the 5th runner-up on American Idol.
Exactly.
Like I'd lose that fucker right in the beginning and be like, cool, I'm gonna get a record label.
Yeah, I get those press kits all the time. Yeah,
wow.
5th runner-up on American Idol. And then it's just the people that watch them on TV. So you're never really growing but the cool thing, and I'm a millennial, so I have a little bit of a different view on that, is just the fact that you can put your music out there, and if someone picks it up and puts it on a playlist,
Well, it's a blessing and a curse. Yeah.
it is. Yeah, there's
Sifting through the other million whatever from everywhere.
Well,
Exactly.
So
That's
my
the problem.
point goes more towards 15, 20 years ago, you could go tour and be able to find ways to sell stuff and sell your music and make enough money to support yourself until you could get around and establish a following.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
the only way you can be able to get up to that next level is if you have that one video that hits and is like that lightning in a bottle for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the only option.
And it's a whole...
Unless you have rich parents,
Right. Yeah, and that's something that that Ty always goes back and forth with too, because his sister is always like, get on TikTok. She's like the TikTok marketing queen, you know. She's got a bazillion followers. Neither of us have TikTok or use it, and his thing is like, I know that I should get on there, and then at the same time, I don't want my song to go viral for some stupid ass video that someone made with it, you know. And then it's like my song then
Is
becomes
always going to be
remembered.
associated by that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's the Baby Shark guy. No, just kidding.
or the Fleetwood Mac Dreams when it went viral on TikTok with the guy in the cranberry juice on the skateboard, and then everyone was doing it, and then even Stevie Nicks like reclaimed it. She did a video, and because she's the queen, but Ty's like, yeah, now it's just this joke. It's almost like an ironic thing. It's not this amazing song that was written on this incredible album.
I mean, it was pretty cool that it had such a huge spike so long after.
For sure.
It was released.
That's what I said. But there's,
blessing and a curse.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like sometimes there's some things you gotta just let the pride go so you can get to that next step.
Exactly.
But
that's
whatever.
why I do the social media. And
That's like we were talking. We're about 3 years into this podcast, and just this past week, I finally was like, you know what, Jeff, you win. I'm putting the podcast on Spotify because up until last week, you could find it everywhere except there.
Yay.
Because it was just my personal vendetta, because they are the largest streaming corporation and purveyor of music, and they pay artists the absolute least.
I know. I was actually not even going to mention that I almost exclusively listen to Spotify because I know how much you hate it. But I do, because I love Spotify.
I said it's a love-hate. I get it and I understand it.
Yeah.
But as a musician, I loathe it at the same time.
Yeah, Ty's an Apple Music guy. But I just love my playlists. And I love the playlists that it curates and recommends for me. And I know.
Oh no, you're okay here. You're okay now.
I've had a heated discussion about this with Chris Fritz many a time, but I like that based on what I'm listening to, it will curate a playlist for me, and it's always like indie, original, up and coming people, and I love that those guys are like getting the streams. And I love that I can discover them, and now I'm like, holy shit, I like being a part of that movement, which on Apple Music, at least on Ty's, and it's probably just because I'm very involved with my Spotify, but he's just listening to the albums that he saves, which as an audiophile, I totally understand the necessity in listening to an album front to back. I do. But I also love the exploration of Spotify playlists.
See, but even with Apple Music, if you could start like a station based on a band that you're listening to.
Gotcha.
And then it will give you recommendations of things similar to what you were listening to.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw my playlist.
I found a bunch of good bands
Spotify.
that way too. So
my Spotify playlist is so wild. They're all tailored to very specific moods that I'm not even sure other people share. And
but it really hit in the moment.
And somehow Spotify is able to be like, you know what else sounds like this vibe or this mood that you're going for? And it hits every time. I mean, sometimes it doesn't, like
every once in a while you gotta swing it a bit.
Exactly. But because I do know that there's a little bit of that on, because I'll listen to that if he's got Apple Music on in the car. It'll be like, oh, you probably like this and this and this, but it just feels so specific on Spotify. I don't know what it is about them, but I broke up with Pandora for them when I was in college, like 13 years ago or whatever it was, because I hated like listening to the same things while I was studying over and over again. And then I switched to Spotify and I was like, okay, this is what I needed, because I need new stuff,
New stuff.
Need new music all the time.
Congratulations, though, for getting over your fear.
Yes.
Well, to prove my point, though,
I will
in
listen to this podcast.
our first week on Spotify, we had a whole 2 active listeners. 2.
Now that you're there, I will listen more.
Stop encouraging him.
I'm just saying.
You don't have to encourage me. I've been telling you for months you're an idiot.
I listen to Spotify the whole way here. I listen to all different podcasts on Spotify.
I know what you're trying to say with your eyes over there.
Nothing. I'm not saying a word.
But I do get it. It's bullshit that they don't.
Said it was a pride thing.
It's business, and that's where I come. I always look out and be like, okay, well, it's the business, and you need these people to better yourself, but they want you to better their pockets. So unless you could prove you could better their pockets, you're not going to get better yourself. It's a round robin over and over again. Yeah, and it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. I think now that I'm older, it's easier for me to go, Yeah. That 360 deal,
I
should have
just set,
signed
I
that
just set
one.
the expectations real low, and I'm just not disappointed. That's it. It is what it is.
It's fair.
This is like a fun passion project for me.
No, I mean, this is fun to an extent. You know, when you got like certain people on that are fun, then other people that annoy the ever living fuck out of me.
We were doing good. I wasn't going to have to take anything out so far. God damn it.
The wine wore off. Sorry.
I was going to say, how is the editing for this podcast? It must be.
Oh
like,
God, that's
insane.
got to be horrendous.
It's actually not that bad.
I was going to say, like, it has to be really easy for you, because I assume you probably do a lot of cutting of things, right?
Yeah, I just take all the videos that I have. There's different angles, combine them together with the audio from that, and
That's awesome.
then I just sit there and switch camera angles. If we say something stupid, just get that right out of there. Yeah, there's parts where we'll be laughing hysterically, or like we're talking and it just stops, and everybody's just standing there, like not doing nothing.
And now for something completely different.
Exactly. Well, that's it. I got to put that on the board too.
What?
And now for something completely different.
Oh yeah, you should. Yeah, you need good stuff like that.
I love that.
We need the Jeopardy theme too. I keep forgetting to put that on there.
Yeah.
But then we might start hitting copyright infringements.
Yeah, so no bother. Just get all like the cool, funny quotes.
Or you can just play it yourself on the kazoo, and then you're fine.
We could do a recording session of all kazoo songs, and then
I'm down. Get a little triangle in there.
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
It's officially yours at that point, so what are they going to do?
Yeah, as long as you change it a certain percentage, right?
Yeah.
We should have her back and do a music review of all the bands that have been on.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
I know it. And
We
she
can
could
actually
be like the
we
real
could actually
professional,
get like
nice one.
two or three people and have like a dais and just play a song from a band and then get their reaction without telling them who or what it is, and they'd be like, "Oh, because this was this band that was on this episode." And
I mean, I don't want a mic that day, so.
well, no, I'm not talking you. Your mic will have that red button hit over there, so you can't talk.
No, there's been some good bands on.
But that would be a cool idea, actually.
That would be a fun
Yes.
concept.
And
I know
since
I've gotten
she's
so
like-
many ideas just from this conversation. Like, actually, that would be a good idea.
And back to the vertical content, I've been tossing around trying to do
We're
like
back to that.
or more short form content of like having a band send me, if you want, send me a song and I'll do a short video on Instagram or YouTube reviewing that song, but I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to like it or say anything nice about it. But it's just another option we have to try to have content and help out bands or not help out bands.
I was gonna say, that's the hard part. That's the one thing with especially with sound waves. I try to keep, especially if I'm dealing with local bands, I'm gonna be positive or not say anything at all. And the cool thing is that
Well, then I want to definitely do it and get a real bad one. And see her just
she
sitting there
already
like,
showed me Mercy. I think she wrote an article on us in like 2019-ish.
we're like these
When we
assholes.
played at Bird and Betty's with Dying Light
Oh,
in my old band. And she's like, yeah, these guys were great. They sounded like this and this and this. I'm like, man, we suck. And she's being so nice right now.
I actually remember that show.
Do you?
It was a good show.
I'll say, there
That's
you go.
great.
What are you doing?
I always say we suck.
Well,
That was our thing.
okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I was honestly impressed with the bands that night, because I was kind of like, here we go, some dudes who
She sees all these like huge bearded men all tattooed up walking in. She's like, motherfuckers.
If you knew my mother, you would not be surprised by how that does not faze me at all, because my mom is 52, covered in tattoos. I grew up on Ozzy and Metallica and Slayer.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so like that music, I mean, I wasn't expecting I love heavy music. I should just preface that, but I was just thinking like, okay, bands that I've never heard of. It seems like Chris Fritz's high school reunion. This is going to be awesome. It was actually really good. I was impressed with the music, especially considering like I hadn't heard or seen any of you ever.
Yeah.
So
we were a good combo, us and Dying Light, because we were both very heavy, but also not that heavy. The way everything was put together with the vocals and all that.
yeah.
I'm just listening. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
very well orchestrated
I wasn't
bands.
there.
I know you weren't there.
Not a fan. What's your music? What's your
I don't know.
jam?
I didn't know him then.
Oh, okay. I thought there was.
Or I might have knew you, but I didn't know you like.
Thought
You
there was
did-
going to be
was
some
only- it's
genre.
2019.
Oh, no, because it was after COVID for sure.
Are you sure? I wasn't
Yeah.
sure it was before COVID. No.
No, because I was dating Ty, and I met Ty in the middle of lockdown. So
Maybe it was.
I think it was 2021
Could have been.
because I think we were living together at that point because we went together.
Because I haven't been in that band since 22.
This was like one of the last shows. You were complaining about him all the time. I would never go. And plus, it's kind of far.
Yeah, it is. Well, no, it's not.
Well, for me,
It's a half hour.
a half hour.
You
of
go
a
to
dangerous
Manafurkin.
drive back. Yeah, and a dangerous drive back.
That's
You even called me. You're like, dude, did you make it home?
That's because you drank way too much.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll cut that.
No, you can leave that in. It's pretty standard.
We did our one show at Manafurkin. It was like, I'm going to say 95 degrees. It was hot. And this dude's taking down stouts like they're going out of style. And we're like 3/4 of the way through the show, and I look over at him, and he's just swaying back and forth. And I'm like, you okay? He's like, yeah, fine. Fine.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem of having shows at a brewery.
You think?
It's very
I
easy
want
to
the winery now. That's next. I'm like so into the wine thing now. I think it works.
You think it works?
Am I better?
Sometimes.
I haven't been mean at
It's
all.
only attempt 2, so
All right.
so we don't have a large enough sample pool
Well,
yet.
we will go for the next couple of weeks.
I'm down.
I stocked up, so
We got to try.
true.
All right. Well, to wrap this up, we're going to give you the same final question we give everybody.
Well, wait a minute. Where can people find you to give you press kits and all this stuff? Because now I'm going to send you press kits.
Okay. Well, if you're looking, if you're traveling into the area or you're local to the area and you want to feature in sound waves, then you can email me at Monique, MONIQUE, at thesandpaper.net. Don't forget because most people do.
Okay.
And then if you want to send me your press kit because you need help with it or you need somebody to write your website or you need
Your professional help.
that kind of advice, you can, I'm just going to say it's my full name, Monique Demopoulos at gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm sure that my name will probably be written on the...
Oh, yes.
Okay, cool.
I love how you're looking like
You wouldn't believe when I'm calling people, how spelling my name out one letter at a time. It's hilarious.
Annoying.
Yeah. It's a long name. So, yeah. And I'm on Instagram. That's kind of like a Mod Podge of all the things I do, which is kind of weird for some audiences, but I don't really care. So that's at Monique.dreams. Used to be Monique Poses when I actually was a model, and I'm not anymore. So, yeah. So now it's just writing and other fun things I'm doing, musically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope you got all that.
I did.
You got a lot of shit to type.
It's recorded, so I can't forget.
I'm working on a new website with hopefully a new email that's actually easy to spell and remember because I think that's going to be the biggest problem people have with reaching me. So, but yeah, anything sound waves related, Monique at the Sandpaper. That's easy enough.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, well, this doesn't come out for probably like a month and a half, 2 months, somewhere in there.
All right.
So if your website comes together in that time,
Okay.
definitely send it to me and I'll put
You're
it
going
in
to
the
have it like
description.
flash out.
Cool.
Just
It
like
definitely will be.
Yeah,
It'll
just
be
send me
like
send me all the
thing.
info and I'll put it in the description of the video and we'll hook it up
awesome.
the description. Wherever
down
that
below,
is.
Down
somewhere down there. All right, so our final
Over here.
question:
No, sorry, God.
if you could change one singular thing about the music scene locally, what would it be, and why? The one thing that you think you could change that would be the most beneficial. One singular thing.
Wow. Give me a second to think about that.
It's all good. Said I know most people normally get like 10 or 15 things flying through their head.
Yeah,
But you got to narrow it down to just one.
If I could change one single thing, there are two things in my brain. One of them is probably both of them are pretty controversial, actually. And
I can't wait to hear it now.
if I should say
Say them
Yes.
both.
You put
All
it
right.
out there.
things that I feel like can change. I think something that I'm working to try and affect positive change in is sharing with musicians how they can advocate for themselves, setting up appropriate boundaries, press kits, writing emails, and not being, taken advantage of. But also, if you feel like you're not able to break in and you have something you want people to hear, just start doing it yourself. There are so many people who are kind of advocating for this original music scene, and it's so cool to see. And there are people that maybe aren't necessarily getting picked up by our local bookers who, for whatever reason, just, are hard to contact for some
in
reason.
Ocean County, there's nowhere to really play original music.
Well,
that's problem number one.
But the thing is, and I guess for me, it's like, all right, mix it up. You know what I mean? Play some covers and then play an original. And don't tell people it's an original. Just play stuff people, not even stuff people like. Play whatever you like to play, then play an original, and then say, that was mine. Because people will tune out if you give them the opportunity, but if you don't give them the opportunity, most times they'll be like, what was that? I really liked that. So that's one very long-winded answer.
I can say all the time in this area, especially like Ocean, Monmouth County, we have like a wealth of talent around here. And like most of these people don't get heard like at all. But there's so many good players and musicians out there that just don't have the opportunity.
Exactly. So that's one thing I'm working on personally, but someday with the time and resources, because I feel like there are people, I know them. I know people who are good production people, sound tech, lights, it's just, you can't compete.
I gotcha.
That's a podcast for another time.
Oh, repeat performance here.
She's on fire. She's on fire.
Yeah,
she's calling
probably.
you out.
So, all right. So she's going to start a management company. We're going to have her on to do reviews. And
she's taking over the world.
She's going to take over the world. So we got to be on her good side. Oh, can we be your personal podcasters? When you take over the world.
Sure.
Okay.
We could be like the narrators.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She walks into a room. It's chill coming through her eyes.
Oh, my God. I'm here for it.
There you go. The sound man trembling in his shoes.
I'll write a suggested script.
Yes.
For you guys. Just loosely,
We got this. We got this.
It's like a choose your own adventure,
That's perfect for us.
I know, right? No, I said left. Right.
Like I said before, we never really know where we're going. It just happens.
All right.
I like
Sounds
that.
Good.
It's the adventure.
Yeah. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Metaphrican Brewery in Stafford Township.
Yeah.
Lofadelic Records in Belmar.
Sure,
on Main
that's
Street.
where they are?
Yeah.
Okay,
I always want to say Brad. I always I think Red Bank, but it's not Red Bank. It's
Sorry,
Belmar.
guys. Sorry.
And then TrueNewJersey.com. We'll have a code in the description for 10% off your order.
10%, you could just put that to like a shirt or something, right?
Yeah,
that's
stickers.
cool.
They do all sorts of silly shit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You should check them out.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Be sure to check her out. When she takes over the world, you want her on your good side.
Oh, definitely.
And we're out.
Don't!
That's the wrong
one. Look what you did. You messed it all up.
up.
No, wait a minute. Where is it? Oh, it's here.
There you go. And we're out.